There is a psalm that doesn't just comfort, it activates. It doesn't merely inspire faith, it calls it into motion. For centuries, Psalm 20 sat quietly on the page, read by many, but understood by few. But when spoken with intention, when declared as the first words of your morning, this psalm begins to shift the atmosphere. Not just around you, but inside you. Joseph Murphy often taught that the subconscious responds most powerfully in the early hours of the day, when the mind is most impressionable. What you speak when you first wake up becomes the blueprint for everything that follows. If you begin your day in fear, frustration, or passivity, your subconscious accepts that rhythm. But when you begin your day with the vibration of divine promise, something mysterious happens. The day starts bending to that frequency. Psalm 20 is not a poem, it's a spiritual code. Each line is a declaration, a seed, a vibration. It speaks of answers being sent, of help coming from the sanctuary, of desires being fulfilled, and plans being established by divine hand. These are not metaphors, they are instructions. And when you speak them aloud with awareness, you initiate a chain of unseen movements in your favor. The most powerful truths are often hidden in simplicity. Psalm 20 has no grand theological complexity. It simply speaks the language of belief. It echoes the very pattern Joseph Murphy revealed. What you accept as true and speak with conviction becomes reality. But it must be spoken. Thought alone is not enough. Silence alone is not enough. Spirit responds to sound. Creation responds to vibration. When you speak Psalm 20 at the start of your day, you are not asking, you are aligning. You are not begging, you are activating. This is how miracles are welcomed. Not by pleading for them, but by declaring their presence before they arrive. And once declared, they begin to make their way toward you, quietly, surely, and often faster than you imagined. Words do not only carry meaning, they carry energy. They shift the field around you, and Psalm 20, when declared with presence and faith, becomes a current of power flowing through your voice. It doesn't matter if you're in a quiet room or driving in silence. When you speak it, something in the spiritual realm begins to stir. Joseph Murphy called this the spiritual law of response. Whatever you declare in faith, your subconscious begins to move toward. But more than that, the universe begins to organize around it. If something inside you is awakening as you hear this, take a second to subscribe so you stay aligned with these teachings every day. Each verse of Psalm 20 is crafted with intention. It is not passive. It is not hesitant. It speaks as if the answer already exists. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. Not if, but when. That phrase alone sends a frequency of certainty into your inner world. It informs your subconscious that divine help is not a wish. It's already on the way. When you speak these words aloud, especially in the stillness of morning, you're tuning your spirit to a divine frequency. You're instructing your body, your emotions, your surroundings to cooperate with something higher. It's not just a declaration, it's realignment. You're moving out of fear, out of doubt, and into spiritual congruence. Joseph Murphy emphasized that the subconscious works best with repetition, rhythm, and emotion. Psalm 20 delivers all three. It was written not just to be read, but to be declared, because your life rises or falls to the level of what you consistently affirm. And when those affirmations are rooted in sacred text, backed by belief, and carried by sound, you are not just reciting scripture. You are activating the laws that shape the seen world through the unseen. The first words you speak in the morning don't just echo, they create. In that fragile space between sleep and full awareness, your mind is wide open. Your subconscious is listening without filters, and your spirit is still soft enough to be molded. That's why the voice you use when you wake up becomes the voice your day obeys. If that voice is fear, the day mirrors fear. But if it's faith, clear, calm, bold, then the day begins to bow to that frequency. Joseph Murphy often spoke of this sacred window, the early hours, as the moment when your thoughts and words have the greatest creative power. You are not yet distracted. You are not yet resisting. In that silence, your declaration becomes blueprint. Your subconscious, like fertile soil, begins organizing every thought, every interaction, every outcome around that seed. Psalm 20 was written for this moment. May He grant you according to your heart's desire and fulfill all your purpose. When that verse is the first sound your soul hears, you are not hoping. You are commanding alignment. You are stepping into the day already spiritually charged, already surrounded by grace, already expecting provision. And when that expectation is spoken, it becomes structure. Your mood follows it. Your actions align with it. Even your decisions begin to match it. It's not manipulation. It's magnetic law. You've spoken into the field, and now the field is adjusting. This is not superstition. It's spiritual mechanics. The energy you project first always sets the tone. So never underestimate your morning voice. Speak the words of Psalm 20 not as ritual, but as resonance. Let the lines fall off your lips with stillness and strength. Let them be your first truth of the day, the first order you give to the unseen. Because when your morning starts in sacred command, your day becomes a sacred result. David did not write as a poet only. He wrote as a prophet. The Psalms are not emotional expressions alone. They are blueprints of divine interaction. Each word was chosen not just for beauty, but for power. Psalm 20 is no exception. Its verses carry structure. They are built like spiritual architecture. And like Joseph Murphy taught, when words are spoken with intention, they activate laws far beyond intellect. They awaken spiritual physics. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. That's not suggestion. It's alignment. It speaks from a place where what you ask already exists in potential. And the moment you speak it with awareness, you bridge the invisible to the visible. That's not just theology. That's energetic truth. The words begin to function as bridges between vibration and form. In Murphy's framework, every phrase you repeat with emotion imprints the subconscious. But when that phrase is already infused with divine pattern, like the Psalms, it works faster. Why? Because it bypasses doubt. Scripture carries collective resonance. It holds centuries of faith, of repetition, of agreement. And when you join that frequency, you multiply its power. This is why Psalm 20 can't be read casually. It must be declared consciously. Every verse affirms divine help, divine favor, divine fulfillment. These aren't wishes. They are laws being spoken. And when spoken with belief, they do not float. They land. They take root. They begin to draw people, places, timing, and outcomes into a new arrangement. So when David wrote, "Now I know that the Lord saves His anointed," he wasn't guessing. He was stating a law. And when you repeat those words in the vibration of knowing, not hoping, you're not just echoing a scripture. You're stepping into divine design. The psalm stops being a text and becomes a tool. Heaven does not respond to need. It responds to belief. It does not move by volume, but by vibration. Joseph Murphy made this clear. The universe is not persuaded by desperation. It is activated by alignment. You can cry out in fear and see nothing shift, but speak in stillness, with the quiet certainty of divine truth, and the spiritual realm begins to unfold in your favor. Psalm 20 is filled with faith-born declarations. It doesn't plead for help, it expects it. May He send you help from the sanctuary. This is not begging. It is calling forth what already exists in the spiritual dimension. And when your voice aligns with that same energy, when you say it not just with your lips but with your inner state, heaven echoes back with movement. This is the essence of spiritual cause and effect. Words filled with belief carry mass. They leave your mouth and travel into the invisible, acting like signals, drawing to you experiences that match their frequency. Faith is not just emotional, it's magnetic. And when you declare the promises of Psalm 20 with that faith, you're not praying as a stranger. You're declaring as a son, as a daughter, as someone who knows the throne is not distant, it's within. Murphy taught that your subconscious accepts only what you feel to be true. The spiritual world is no different. It recognizes the tone of belief, not the noise of religion, not the tradition of repetition, but the vibration of real trust. And once you speak from that place, you shift out of hoping and into receiving. So speak Psalm 20 as someone who knows, as someone whose inner world already agrees with the outcome, because heaven, spirit, and subconscious alike are listening, not for your words alone, but for the faith beneath them. And once they hear it, the response is inevitable. There is a difference between chasing blessings and aligning with them. One implies separation, the other implies agreement. Joseph Murphy taught that every good thing you desire already exists in spiritual form, waiting for the right condition to emerge. Psalm 20 is not about persuading God to bless you. It's about positioning yourself in the frequency where those blessings naturally unfold. Every verse in this psalm carries architecture. It builds an inner structure of trust, expectancy, and spiritual authority. May He grant you according to your heart's desire. That is not a vague hope. It is a reflection of divine design. What you truly desire, when cleansed of fear and shaped by faith, is often what God already intends. The declaration simply unlocks what's already yours. Blessings are not random. They are responses. They do not arrive because you've performed enough, but because you've aligned deeply. Murphy believed your outer life is always echoing your inner world. So if you want different results, you must begin not with effort, but with agreement. And speaking sacred truth, like Psalm 20, daily, faithfully, is how that agreement is formed. As you repeat these verses each morning, you're not just hoping for a good day. You're coming into alignment with a spiritual pattern already drawn for you. A pattern of victory, a map of fulfillment. The words don't make God move. They make you match what's already moving toward you. The more aligned you are internally, the less resistance you'll meet externally. This is the secret of divine timing. It doesn't depend on external clocks. It depends on inner readiness. And when your voice, your belief, and your vibration match what the blessing requires, the blueprint activates. The timing speeds up, and what once seemed far begins to feel near, because now you're walking with it, not toward it. Desire is not weakness. In spiritual truth, desire is direction. It is a signal from the soul, pointing toward a version of you that already exists in potential. Joseph Murphy never taught people to suppress desire. He taught them to sanctify it, to lift it out of fear, out of lack, and into agreement with divine law, because only aligned desire becomes fulfilled desire. Psalm 20 reflects this perfectly. May He fulfill all your petitions. It doesn't say some. It doesn't say if you're worthy. It simply speaks fulfillment. But that fulfillment is not random. It comes through sacred alignment. That means your heart, your words, and your vibration must move as one. When they do, the desire is no longer just yours. It becomes a shared reality between you and spirit. Most people pray from contradiction. They desire one thing, but speak another. They say, "I believe," but vibrate fear. And the spiritual world responds, not to the louder voice, but to the truer one. Alignment requires coherence, and coherence is created through conscious repetition, emotional agreement, and spiritual focus. This is where daily declarations hold power. Speaking the truth of Psalm 20 each morning begins to burn away contradiction. You stop doubting your desires. You stop diluting your faith. You begin to trust that what your soul longs for is not forbidden. It's divine. And the more you align, the more quickly it approaches. Fulfillment is not earned. It's received. And it's received not by trying harder, but by tuning deeper. The blueprint of your answered prayer is already written. Your job is to speak it, feel it, and expect it, until the internal world and the external world are no longer out of sync, until your voice becomes the sound of the future arriving. There are moments in life when change feels slow, when answers seem delayed, and momentum is missing. But in the spiritual dimension, delay does not mean denial. It simply signals misalignment. Joseph Murphy showed us that once alignment is restored, movement returns. And not just movement, acceleration. But Psalm 20, when declared daily, is not just a prayer. It is a spiritual key. A pattern that, once activated, reopens the flow of divine momentum. May we shout for joy over your victory. This is not a future tense hope. It is a present tense certainty. The psalm teaches you to celebrate the result before it arrives, because celebration is vibrational agreement. And the moment your inner world agrees with the promise, the process speeds up. Your day begins to move. Obstacles shift. Delays dissolve. Momentum is no longer a concept. It becomes experience. Speaking Psalm 20 every morning creates consistency, not just in language, but in energy. And consistent energy is what makes the invisible become inevitable. You begin to expect help. You begin to recognize signs. You act from faith, not reaction. And as this becomes your rhythm, your life enters into motion, not random motion, but divine direction. This is not performance. It's presence. It's about showing up each day with your voice tuned, your heart open, and your spirit steady. Not waiting for the world to change before you believe, but believing until the world begins to follow suit. You are no longer pushing for results. You're pulling them into your reality with every declaration. Psalm 20 is more than scripture, it's a gate. And when spoken daily, it opens a path where your desires are not chased. They are drawn to you, not by force, but by faith. Not by striving, but by spiritual law. Declare it, feel it, walk in it, and watch momentum become your new normal.